So welcome back to another video. This is a different video than you are used to because I'm not sitting in front of the bike, but technically you still see my R12GS over there, and you see the R1250GS over there. New bike, by the way. We'll be revealing that later. We're going to talk about the BMW 450GS because yeah, there's a lot of talk about that bike. You have probably seen my previous video about that bike. I made a couple on the EICMA, so that was the biggest motorcycle show in the world. And that was quite exciting to be there and to be a part of seeing those new bikes. And yeah, but there's a lot of talk about the BMW 450GS, so that's why I'm going to talk about that today. I'm going to look at the website of BMW and I'm going to configure it because some things are not very clear. And I want to also give you my personal opinion about that bike, what I think about it after, how do you say that? After a long time, after contemplating for a couple of weeks. So you see the light is still changing because I have my screen in front of me. I think that is an easy way to talk about the bike. I was going to show you some video that I've made on location. But first off, let's talk about the configuration of the bike and the wheels, because that is very interesting. And I'm also going to compare it to the KTM 390 Adventure because I think that is the direct competition of this bike. Although it's a single cylinder, but we also have the 450 MT from CF Moto, which is also a direct competitor. And I know that Aprilia is working on a smaller Touareg, so Touareg 457. That will be also very interesting. I have expected that bike to be on the EICMA as well, but unfortunately it was not. So hopefully next year or maybe somewhere in between, but we'll see. So let's go. So the 450GS, it's quite expensive. Here in the Netherlands, we pay around extra taxes of around 2,000 euros. So if you are hearing these prices from me, you need to cut down 2,000 euro if you are living in another country like Belgium, Germany, that kind of stuff. America, I'm not sure. I know that the prices are pretty low, but I know that there's a big markup at a lot of dealers. So if I'm going to configure it, I would probably configure it as a trophy version. So I will also show that. I will also record my screen. So let's go to the website of the BMW. We're going to do the Dutch website because that is more relevant for me. So in my case, I would have go for the GS Trophy version, and you will probably think, okay, if I choose the GS Trophy, I would get spoke wheels. But that's not the case, unfortunately. So you need to put that as an option. So now we have the normal wheels. In this case, we have the sort of cast wheels. I think they're not cast, but they're aluminum, I think. Not sure what they are. You do have some protection, so you have an extra protection with the trophy version, so that's nice. It has the sport suspension, so if it's around the same as with the sport suspension from the R1300GS, you have a little bit taller suspension, which is good. Of course, 6 gears, so that's pretty normal. You get the, let's go to the 360, you get the handguards. Those are pretty good, those handguards. I have them on my R12GS and they took a beating if they are a little bit the same. You need to, by the way, know that this bike is not built by BMW in Germany. It is built by TVS, that's an Indian company. They also have their own bikes. So that's why they can keep the price a little bit lower. So we want to have the spoke wheels, of course. Let's see, the rally seat, is that a must? If I would buy this bike, I would go for the rally seat. It's a good looking bike, by the way, on these pictures, but I've seen that bike in real life, and I do think that the front is a little bit odd. It's a little bit weird. So, of course, we need the spoked wheels. And if I'm honest, what I would do is buy this one without the spoke wheels and opt for aftermarket spoke wheels and go for the 21 inch at the front and an 18 inch at the rear, because that would really change the bike. Good tip. So, but in this case, most people will go for the for the spoke wheels. So we have tank pad because we need some protection out of the box as soon as possible, because that tank is really exposed. Now we have the rally thingy. That's okay. We will keep that rally screen. I've sat on the bike. I'm around 1.86 meters, so I am not the biggest guy in the world, but I am above average, and I would need those risers. So I have the risers installed right now, and navigation prep, not sure. I also had a question about if that bike has cruise control, but apparently it hasn't, which is pretty weird. So we have, I think this would be the bike for me, I think. So pretty easy, not too much. You don't get a 5-year warranty as standard. But then yeah, there you have it. So you have the sort of trophy version. I would probably go for another exhaust in the future, but this is the bike that I would buy. Again, I would buy it without the spoke wheels, and I would go aftermarket to a 21 inch and an 18 at the rear, because I do think that is a really weird choice, or at least give people the option, because if you buy it as an off-road bike, you would love to have 21 inch at the front. Of course, it's a really good middle ground, 19 at the front and 17 at the rear. Most GSs have that, but I would buy this bike for purely off-road in my case. And in my case, I would go for a 21 inch. So, but if you're smart, you buy the standard wheels, use that on the road, and if you want to go off-road, you buy an extra set for around 1,500 euros, and then you have a 21 inch at the front and an 18 at the rear, if you go aftermarket, of course. So it's around 10,467. Pretty steep for the 450. So if we go to the competition, so it's a 450, so it's 8,800 euros. And I think that this bike does have cruise control. So that is quite a big difference. So there's 42 horsepower. I think the BMW has 47, so it's a little bit more powerful, but not that much. It's also a twin. It's around 75 kilos dry, so it's around 10 kilos heavier than the BMW. But it does have spoke wheels as a standard, and it does have a 21 inch as standard and an 18 at the rear. So that's a big difference. There's no need to change this bike, because you have standard navigation mount at the top. You have a KYB suspension. You have the spoke wheels. You have a bench seat, so not a two-piece seat. So yeah, I think that's a better deal. But still, of course, if you want the BMW, you have 5-year warranty as standard, by the way, with the CF Moto. So you need to pay extra for that at BMW. That is also quite a big difference. So, other competition, 2025 KTM 390 Adventure R. So this is a single cylinder, and it is around 8,800 euros here in the Netherlands. So it's again around 2,000 euros cheaper. You have the spoke wheels as standard, 21 inch at the front and 18 inch at the rear. Around the same amount of horsepower, and a probably pretty good off-road bike. Also WP suspension. Not sure if it's made in India or in China, doesn't matter. But yeah, if you compare these bikes to each other, so we have 3 bikes in this case, the BMW is around 2,000 euros more than the KTM, and the KTM is around a couple of hundred euros more than the around 1,000 euros more than the CF Moto. So CF Moto is 3,000 euros less. It's Quite a big difference. So if we are still talking about the BMW, if I'm honest, if I was in the market for a single cylinder or a 2-cylinder bike or a smaller displacement bike, I would not buy the BMW, I think. I think it's a really nice bike. It looks okay. Yeah, it has the good TFT, of course. It has quite a few nice options. It has the BMW pedigree, but I cannot say that I would spend 3,000 euros more. And even if you compare the costs, if you get another wheel set, it's around 4,000 euros more than the CF Moto. It's a little bit less weight. I would, in my case, I would still go for a 2-cylinder. I'm not going to go for a 1-cylinder, so I would really go for the CF Moto, I think. Yeah, what do you think? Are you interested in the BMW? Would you buy it, or would you go for another brand? I'm curious because I'm sure that BMW is a really good company. I'm sure they did a lot of market research to know if this bike would sell a lot. I know from firsthand from some BMW dealers that they already sold quite a few, or at least have some sort of reservations. But yeah, I'm curious, what would you do? Are you interested in this bike? Let me know down below in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. Bye. Hey, are you still watching? Good, good. Thank you very much for watching this video until the end. I hope you liked it, and if you do, please consider to subscribe because that would really help the channel. For now, if you want to see anything more, this is my recommended video for you. This is my latest video for you, and again, if you want to subscribe, please tap here.